I'm going to cut that off before we start giggling. We were not sure if that was the right anthem, but welcome back to Gears and Glory.
How's the drum roll? That was a lot.
Yeah.
That was so good. Oh my god.
That kicked off this episode because, yes, this is our Austrian Grand Prix recap conversation. But with that, drum roll, please, we need to cut to, like, breaking rumours, first of all, because this is the bit of news / rumour on everybody's tongue right now. And I feel we need to talk about it. I think also, even just within, like, our little Gears and Glory group chat, we have differing opinions and, like, thoughts on the rumours. Because, like, I mean, anything can happen. But if you are living under a rock, the Max to Mercedes rumours are strengthening, like absolutely strengthening.
Yeah. No, I've got the Instagram group chat pulled up right now because of course we have several. But the Instagram one, the piece that I found the most interesting that came out recently was from Mercedes AMG F1 Motorsport. They posted breaking, again, I don't know if this is real. It's like really, like my media literacy is taking a hit lately. But like it said that allegedly, perhaps I should use the word allegedly, George Russell has turned down a Mercedes 1+1 contract offer because this is George's contract year. If we aren't all on the same page with that, like he does not have a seat for 2026. Yeah. Him turning down 1+1, I think is fair. We've been saying it. Liv put us on the sauce. Like, put us on the sauce. The George Russell sauce, I guess. I don't know.
We're all in a George Russell bandwagon. Jump on the train.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
So, but like with good reason. Like he's been, like, yes, his teammate's a rookie, but like he's still outperforming him. He's still absolutely killing it. He's still getting podiums and wins and everything. And it's like a 1+1 is kind of dirty. Like, what else are you looking for? Like, what else is out there that's not with literally the driver that you have right now that's like kind of carrying the team?
And it's really interesting because, especially because Toto's saying, you know, like George has always been a part of the Mercedes family, like he was a junior, this, that, we've got to look after him. Like he's offered George a 1+1, supposedly. He offered Lewis a 1+1. Like, I fear Mercedes is losing respect for their long-term drivers.
It's like too much of a business.
Yeah. And I guess this kind of brings us into like where our opinions differ a little bit on like, should Max get the seat? Who has the second seat? And nobody agrees with me. But like, I don't blame them because I also think Kimi should get the second seat. No matter how much I love George Russell, they spent so much to get Kimi into F1 early and like quickly that morally, I suppose, they probably should keep Kimi. But what is throwing me off is that Toto Wolff has come out and said, like, we need to prioritize George because he's been in our family this whole time. But also that he is open to a Max and George lineup because he's had Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. So what could be worse, basically?
I mean, I think it would be an absolute powerhouse. I think that they could be really good because the thing is, I think Max could put it aside. If he's on the same team, he's on the same team. Yeah. So, like, I think he could. I just don't see it being super likely because of exactly what you said. Like, they've invested so much in Kimi that I almost, like, not just, like, return on investment of, like, they need Kimi to perform, but also almost, like, a little bit of, like, an ego, a little bit of a pride of, like, this is my project. He's a young man named Kimi Antonelli. Yes. And, you know, I don't know if Toto would want to, like, walk that back almost to give it. I mean, it's tough because you've got, like, he definitely has it in him to be a world champion in a handful of years. Max is one now. So, like, I can understand that because that's the thing that this sport reminds us of a lot is how cutthroat it is. See Franco Colapinto on a race-by-race basis. See Jack Doohan. Like, it reminds us, maybe it's just Flavio, but, like, the sport in general reminds us how cutthroat it can be when people are like, yeah, you know, you don't have a seat for next year. That's tough.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's been, I don't know whether you guys have seen it. I don't actually think I ended up sending it to the group chat because I did want to save the element of surprise in case you hadn't seen it. But there was another rumour within said rumour that it is Max and George at Mercedes from 2026, but that Kimi will be taking Alex's seat at Williams and Alex Formula E, which I think the Formula E part was just like a that's his next best thing. Like, I don't think that's obviously got any like girth to it, but like,
yeah, but he's done a test for Formula E, I think.
I think so.
Because
So
when
like,
they're doing the testing now, because Abby Pulling did a test
yeah,
for Nissan. Love
yeah,
Abby Pulling.
we love that.
But they were like showing all of the F1 rookies that have done a rookie, or all of the F1 drivers that have done a rookie test in Formula E, and I think I remember seeing Alex Albon in there. But yeah, the thing that gave the rumor the most weight to me is that they had, I believe it's Martin Brundle on Sky Sports F1 comment on it. That George Russell has not been announced for next year, and that's unusual because he's doing a brilliant job for Mercedes-Benz is like what he's saying. But like the fact that like he's speaking to it, and like this was, I feel like how we felt about the Lewis rumors. Like everyone's like, he's not gonna leave Mercedes. He's been there for like a million years. He is Mercedes-Benz, AMG Petronas F1 racing team. You know, like
their name.
yeah, like the full government name. Like that's who Lewis was, and that was the first news that we got. So
Lewis has really paved that pathway of like, just because you think I'm solid in this team doesn't mean I don't have other aspirations.
Yeah, it's well, and there were like jokes of the meme, which we'll get into Austria and DNFs, but like of like Toto wanting Max's exit clause to get triggered.
Yeah.
So, but then there's also like, I guess the last piece of the Max going to Mercedes pieces, would he go or would he retire? Because he has been quoted as saying like, well, when I have a family, like when I have kids, like I'm not really going to want to keep doing that. It would suck to not go out on a high necessarily because the season's not going brilliant for them, but he did win it 4 times.
Yeah.
So
and like you said, he doesn't really care. Like, he can only win so many. They're not going to get any more special the more he wins. He doesn't care like championships he wins. Do you know what I mean?
And I think he likes the competitive aspect of it. Like, whenever he has a tough race, he always sounds happier. But like Las Vegas, when he won it last season, he was like excited. Obviously, he was excited. You know, he just won a championship, but it wasn't the same as like after Brazil or after something that's like really challenging to him, which like I understand like wanting that challenge of like it doesn't, not that it doesn't mean anything, but it means less maybe if it's like easy.
Yeah, it's not fun if it's handed to you essentially.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to consider. I am definitely keeping a close eye on it because more than anything, I love that this sport is a gossip sport, and so like seeing what comes out of it. Because a lot of times the gossip's just like just real news that people haven't confirmed yet.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, like we do know Toto Wolff is just a gossip who likes to shit stir. So he could just be shit stirring for a bit more attention.
Yeah.
And I guess to maybe scare George into just take the 1+1.
Take the 1+1. Oh yeah, but today is July 3rd in America, July 4th for you all. Very hilarious to me that Silverstone weekend is on the 4th of July in America. I was like this last year and they like made Logan Sargent race. And it was like very British, and I was like, that Florida boy needs to go home. That Florida boy needs to be on a boat in the Everglades, okay?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Fully forgot. That was going somewhere.
America. And gentlemen, start your engines. That is Silverstone this weekend. Oh my god, there's no Americans though, is there? Because Logan's gone.
Yeah, there's no.
Close-ish.
Huh?
It's a Canadian. It's close-ish.
Yeah.
Do they celebrate 4th of July? Oh, I'm gonna sound
no. They have a different day, I think. I don't know what day it is. A lot of them are in the summer though.
Oh.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking of 2, because Colombia's is the 20th of July.
Yeah, Australia's the 26th of January, so that's Australia.
Oh, different.
That's summer.
I mean, it's warm weather for you.
Yeah, that's like the middle of summer, so yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. Summer's relative, everybody. Don't forget.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Slightly off track. Grand Prix. I don't even know what we'll talk about.
Let's get into the race weekend recap. So, did I say that? Race weekend recap. Tongue twister.
Whoa. Let's get into the race weekend recap.
Yeah, you said it correctly though. Like it catches you up.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
right? Okay. Anyways. Austria, I love the Red Bull ring. I think it's beautiful. What I try to do, as I've mentioned on the pod a bunch of times, is like I'll try and race the tracks on the video game before we go there, so I can like recognize what bits and pieces are like what
Yeah.
flat out would be, or like if you can take, I mean, in the sim you can take it flat out, but then you just crash like Jack doing. So maybe I'm not the one to listen to in that case, but I like this track a lot. It's very fun, and the description of it is a lot like a karting track almost,
Yeah.
because it's got like straights and then swirly bits, so it's almost in
So
that way
high
like
speed.
Hungary, where like Hungary has the straights and the curly bits in the middle.
Yeah.
So I think that the drivers like it, but let's get into early in the weekend. I've decided we're not talking about practice because I only watched practice 1 and 3 and there was nothing of note. There's more important things to talk about during things like qualifying and the race. And to start with quali, Carlos had his third Q1 exit in a row, which is tough, but I think it says more about I think it is a symptom of a bigger issue that we're seeing in things like the race where like there are power unit issues and stuff. So maybe it's not necessarily like, I don't think Carlos drove for Ferrari. He's clearly not a Q1 exit driver, right?
Yeah.
It just so happens that he's in a car that's shaping up to be that way. And he's like, it's his first season still. Like some folks, when you ask them like, how long should someone have in a team for deciding if they need to stay or not, or if they should get cut or not? It's like, give them the season. You got them for the season.
Some teams will say 2 races, but
Some teams will say different. Some Flavio Briatore's will disagree with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he had his third Q1 exit in a row. What was interesting though is one of the stats that they pulled out on F1 TV was that there was 0.9 seconds covering every single driver from P1 to P20 in Q1, which is awesome. I love it for the racing because it's the end of this reg set. Like it's going to change, but like at this point everyone's figured it out, which is cool. It makes it so competitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's neat.
Red Bull Ring as well though, because it's like one of the shorter lap times on the calendar.
So short.
Qualifying like cut off and like the gap between each driver is always so small.
There's so much traffic.
So much fun because anything can happen in the last seconds of like Q3 especially. Like
anything
will change. And I love the Red Bull Ring. It's also one of the only 2 tracks I can race very well on F1 24. But that's not what I'm saying. Back. So, you know.
Yeah, 100%. So that's Q1. Q2, there was another grass fire. These people need to water their lawns.
No, because literally, what the F? You're telling me Thursday it was raining and hailing, and then somehow by Saturday it's grass fires? What? Like, how?
Yeah.
How did the grass get that dry that quickly? Like, I don't know. I'm not a grass expert, but surely that's not right.
Yeah. No, it was tricky. But yeah, we had a departure from Hadjar in Q2 where Lawson got into Q3, which was that's good for Liam Lawson. I don't necessarily think I love how Liam Lawson races. No, but I think it's good for him. Like it's good for his performance and his track record.
Yeah. As an Isaac Hadjar fan though, it's a little bit tough. It's not not what I want to see. I also had to laugh though. I'm pretty sure it was in qualifying. The Sky Sports commentators were like obviously chatting away and talking about how Isaac Hadjar was like doing whatever. And they're like, you know, I keep hearing people call him Isaac, and I don't know if it's Isaac or Isaac. And I'm like you guys care. You call Charles Leclerc. Like, you don't care. So either
Charles Leclerc.
Bro, like, just ask him or like, just keep calling him Isaac. Because it is Isaac. He's French. But like, I love that it's taken this far into the season. They're like, what's actually his name?
That's so funny. Boy, oh boy.
A little bit. It did. I had a giggle. But yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, so the cameramen have also been getting up close and personal again, but they're like obsessed with Charles. So it's like only Charles that they'll be like this far away from him. And then he's decided to like break the fourth wall at this point. He's like waving now and like wiggling his eyebrows. Like, yeah, like he's just like goofing around with it, which is fun. Cause it's gotta be crazy to just ignore the guy with a massive camera 2 feet away from you.
Yeah, literally. So, I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't mention Gabby Bortoletto's beautiful qualifying performance.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to talk on it too long, but I will touch on Pierre Gasly ruining the end of qualifying for everybody.
Yeah, I have a bullet point. Pierre nearly losing it into the wall at the end of Q3.
Yep. The worst thing is Sky Sports never showed footage of it, so I didn't know what happened. All I heard was Pierre Gasly's going really slow down the front straight, and then Oscar going off and being like, "We don't have time for the lap, do we?" So, and I had to put the pieces together of what happened and found out he spun out of the last corner.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of funny, but he did allow Lando to get pole because of that. So, like, come on, Pierre, step up. But
yeah, tricky.
Yeah, bittersweet.
Tricky. So yeah, and then it was during quali that the F1 TV commentary mentioned that Franco is on a race by race basis. So we'll see how that turns out for him. We'll see how it maybe does or does not turn out for Jack Doohan. I guess we'll just have to ride that one out and see what happens.
It's coming up close to the end of his 5 races as well, isn't it?
I think it was this one. Yeah.
Silverstone, yeah.
It was Austria, I think, was the last one. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that takes us through the end of quali and we can get into the race. So it was very eventful at the very beginning. For a little while, actually. The middle was kind of quiet, but the beginning was crazy. So having watched F2 a handful of times, I was like, did he stall? I thought they had anti-stall. I thought that the F1 cars had anti-stall and like didn't do this. But Carlos was like stuck, like capital S, stuck on the grid, could not get moving.
Yeah. Finally,
you've seen the F1 movie by now. Yeah, yes. He was pulling a Sonny Hayes, just like not moving at the beginning of it.
Mate, that's put your car in start mode.
Yeah, so they, I believe, wound up having to abort the start because of how far back he was. And then he ended up pulling into pits, and then his car was on fire, and then there's all the memes of you can take the man out of Ferrari, but you can't take the Ferrari out of the man. It's like 2 side-by-sides of the Williams, and then his Ferrari on fire. So that sucks, and he gets told over the radio it's game over, which has got to be one of the gnarliest ways to be told, like, yeah, you're done, brother.
I had to laugh, though, because the car's literally on fire. People are trying to extinguish it, and bro's just sitting there. He's like, I'm not getting out. I'm not getting out.
Well, because sometimes you can cool the brakes enough so that they are no longer on fire. Like, we've seen it. Like, I think Alonso's car this season had, like, a brake fire in one, so they were just like, just cool your brakes.
I swear.
Literally cool your jets. Yeah.
I do want to quickly touch on the F2 sprint race.
Before we get into wasn't there disqualification?
There was disqualifications in like every feeder series race this weekend. Like,
oh my God.
F3, there was a disqualification. There was a disqualification in the sprint race. They lost the P3 winner. Like, he went to the wrong pit lane. So he then got a penalty for the stewards having to track him down and chase him down.
Are you kidding me?
And then he lost P3. Nicolas Solov was promoted. In the F3 feature race, he crossed the line first, but then was disqualified for plank wear. So he got promoted, but also demoted because of disqualifications. That was insane. And I mean, to be fair, F2 was chaos across the whole weekend. There was cars flying. There was
Gosh, that was this weekend. So much happened. Jesus Christ.
It's actually wild. Like, F2 and F3 in Austria is always chaos because, like, it is such close racing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an incident towards, like, the middle/beginning of the F2 sprint race into turn 3, which you'll understand why I want to touch on this in a second. But bloody Semi Megatunif decided to dive up the inside of Luke Brownie and Arvid Lindblad and absolutely just lost the car, and he actually flipped his car multiple times and landed on his roof.
That's scary.
Because that would have been 3 drivers, at least 2 drivers dead and maybe a third one. Arvid would have at least been heavily injured. But turn 3 was actually like the root of all chaos this weekend. Like,
100%.
I don't know many incidents that weren't at turn 3. Which I mean,
even like, last season, that's where Max and Lando had their battle, was turn 3.
Yeah. So turn 3 is like the problem child.
Love it.
Yeah. We love turn 3 actually, because it's always interesting who makes it through.
Sorry, I gotta love it for that reason in particular.
Yeah, But yeah, after we finally got the formation lap in the F1 restarted, the first lap, once again, turn 3, the problem child, with poor Kimi losing the car and taking out Max.
Yeah, because he had like nowhere else to go, had too much momentum, was never gonna break in time, absolutely torpedoed Max's Red Bull, just like took him straight out, and then sat in the car. There's been so many memes of like Kimi sat in that car until he knew Max knew it wasn't George.
Yeah, literally.
And there's like there's like the clips of Schumi when he like wasn't it Michael Schumacher who got out of his car and like started sprinting over to beat someone else up
in the pit lane?
Like, or maybe after a crash.
Oh, are you thinking of it's like an F4 crash and they're both in the wall and one jumps out of the car and starts sprinting towards the other and he quickly jumps out of the car and runs?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's because it's one guy in like a red kit. And the other guy's like looking over his shoulder like, wait, no.
That's literally like what that was. And the worst thing is that the Sky Sports commentary, Karun Chandok was taking freaking control.
I can't listen to...
We all know how much we hate Karun Chandok.
Sorry.
But he fully goes, George Russell takes out Max, and I'm there going, oh no, because I've got no clue what's going on. I'm half asleep at like 11:30 at night, and I'm like, oh my god, like I kid you not, I think if that was actually George Russell, Max would not have left the track. He would have stood in the middle of turn 3, punching on with George Russell.
Yeah, they would have had to red flag to get them separated and like, okay, take it to WWE or something. Like, this
and
I'm
not sure the train to like break up a fist fight.
Yeah, no.
So that kind of would have been funny. As much as I love George and I love Max, that kind of would have been entertaining to see. But everyone was like, well, why was he so nice to Kimi? Because Kimi's a baby.
Yeah, but it is so interesting to see the way that Max interacts with the rookies because he also has he's like a mama duck with a bunch of other baby ducks because he's like, oh, like Gabby was saying, like, oh, Max gave me a toe, so I gave him a toe, and like things like that like I know. Well, and maybe it's because he doesn't feel threatened by them either, or because maybe he just knows he's out of the game for the championship this year, so it like doesn't matter where he finishes because he's not winning.
Yeah,
you're either winning or you're losing. Essentially, I feel like is his mindset.
Yeah.
So
and that's well though, because so off topic, but I am terrified to see Max with a 33 on his car again. Like, I've been through that era, and it was kind of scary because, like, we all know the terror that was Max Verstappen, and I'm a little bit scared to see the number 33 on his car again.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy too because this race was I think the only race that Max has raced without his engineer GP. He had Simon Rennie, who has been handling all of the sim work. So, like, it's not like Max doesn't know him, but, like, there were so many factors, and obviously it wasn't Max's fault. Yeah. Kimi did get a penalty. I think he got a grid penalty for Silverstone this weekend. But, like, there was just, like, a lot going on with, like, what Max was dealing with. Yeah. On so many levels.
I think he was so happy to, like, be out of that race. He was like, thank frick, because I don't have to drive this shitbox anymore. GP's not there to yell at me. Like, we are good. Smooth sailing. Let's go watch this race.
Yeah. Yeah, happy. So it sets up for like an immediate safety car at the beginning of the race. During the start, Oscar picks Charles's pocket, so he sneaks into second. And so then they're off, and the McLarens take off. The McLarens are, like, out of the picture. There's, like, no chance they're in a rocket ship this season. Like, we know that. We've been knowing that. So they take off. After this, there's nothing crazy necessarily with the safety car itself and the restart. Like, it's not like it was cold. It's not like anybody had to warm up their tires or anything. Yeah. But then while the McLarens are, like, out and about ahead of everybody else, they are allowed to race, which I think is good that McLaren is doing, that there's not necessarily explicit team orders from the engineer or, like, team principal side. There's definitely, like, hearing the radios from, like, Lando and Oscar of, like, what can I do? Or, like, I need some help. I'm pretty sure Lando was, like, actually asking for help this time.
And it's quite entertaining because, like, the way their engineers respond to them, you can tell, like, they're on the same team, so they have to be careful, like, how they do it, but also...
The other car. Yeah, the car behind. It's never by name.
Yeah, literally. And it's quite funny. But, like, that did stress me out. Every time Oscar seemed to want to dive bomb Lando, he was, like, locking up and, like...
Mm-hmm.
it was terrifying me. I cannot lie.
Yeah.
I did admit this to Soph before we started filming. I turned the race off at lap 50 with 20 laps to go because the McLarens were literally giving me the worst anxiety. I said, it is time for bed.
Yeah, which is fair. It was the start of the day for me, so I was like, there's no way I'm turning this off. But one thing I did want to bring up about this is there was one start this season. Maybe it was Emilia Romagna, where Oscar snuck past Lando during the start and like absolutely got him in the first chicane. I think it was there. And Lando, in some sort of interview or something, said something along the lines of like, if I had expected him to do that, he never would have been able to, which doesn't really sit right with me. Like, just because you're teammates doesn't mean you're not competing with each other still. Like, at the end of the day, your teammate is actually your biggest rival, because if they can do better than you in the same machinery, give or take a few upgrades here or there on certain weekends, like, then they are better than you. That's the only person you can actually directly compare to. Yeah. So I didn't really, this was also when like Lando was going through like a phase that I was really not a fan of. But like, obviously he like expects it from Oscar now, of like, he's like, oh, like Oscar is the rest of the competition too. Like,
yeah,
it's a tricky situation, because maybe they wouldn't necessarily be allowed to fight so hard I'm sure they wouldn't if they weren't so far ahead in the constructors. But now that they've got that in the bag, and essentially the drivers is one of the two, as long as they don't like cost like an excessive amount of damage control money of like collisions and stuff, like they can race if they keep it clean. So I just think it's a really interesting place for Lando to have traveled to, from being like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that from him. Like, Oscar doesn't care. He'll race anybody. You just want to be the car in front.
And it kind of makes me laugh that, like, how has it taken Lando this long to realize that?
Mm-hmm.
Because, call me stupid, but I fear you should have realized that back in Monza last year, where he absolutely annihilated you in the first lap. He didn't back down. He wasn't scared of you. And that had to create the papaya rules there. So, like, should that not have been the point he realized, like, this bloke is his, like, not, like, number one op, but, like, he's, like, closest rival?
Can I show my age?
Yeah.
Op is, like, your enemy, right?
Yeah. Pardon. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like if I said that, I would feel so old.
No, I actually felt so old saying that, because I've never used that word in my life. But like,
I'm so proud of you for testing it out on the podcast.
I'm trying to just be like a cool like Gen Z gal on this podcast and like be relatable to like the kids.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're on the same page with learning new words.
Yeah. But this is also round 12, so like McLaren kind of need to start like choosing who they're going to back for the World Championship, because like, sure, both McLarens are far enough ahead for now, but if they don't start choosing which one they're going to like push, they're going to start having problems, because as we get closer to the pointy end, like we're halfway through the season, the closer we get to the pointy end of the season, they're going to get worse with the fighting, and in the end, if they can't choose who they're going to push for the title, neither of them are going to get it.
Everyone's going to lose.
Because, like, they need to understand, Max is a 4-time world champion. The Red Bull may not be great, but he's still winning. He's still getting pole position.
He's still third.
He's still, like, competition. So if they don't pick somebody and they let them continue to fight, Max will swoop in. Like, it's not like, oh, he could. He will. He will. Like, yeah.
No, 100%. As each race goes by, that only serves to like raise the stakes. But one thing that did happen that was neat, speaking of like the order, is that in the constructors, Ferrari jumped Mercedes again. So that's a cool battle for second that we're seeing. And I say cool because I don't want to say that I hate it, because I just want Ferrari to be second if we can't be first. But yeah, actually, speaking of Ferrari, this takes me into the radios from this weekend, of which there were a plethora. There were so many good radios this weekend, from quali, from the race, before and after. Like, it was crazy. So I teased the one of Carlos being told game over. Well, teased. I said the whole radio. But that one was rough. That one hurt me emotionally. Yeah. If someone told me game over, I'd cry.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh,
Like,
that's rough.
yeah.
Why
Like,
did it
there's
be
nothing
not?
we can do. Game
Yeah.
over.
It's like,
Yeah.
you watch like the DCC and it's like getting close to like the point where like they select the 36 girls to be on like the squad, and then like they're like dropping the other girls and they're like, is there anything I can do to change your mind? Get out. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like that. It was like, you can't do anything, get out of the car. Like,
Yeah.
it was rough.
Yep. Yeah. So we had that one. We had a Ferrari radio, which was the one that reminded me of Sassy Charles and Brian when Brian was telling Charles to lift and coast in the corners. And Charles just literally on the radio, like he's not driving a car at 1,000,000 miles an hour at several G's of force. That is what I am doing, Brian. That is what I am doing. And like saying his name was just like the cherry on top of like, be quiet.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how to do my job.
I have to laugh. Speaking of Charles and Brian, I don't know where I saw it. I feel like it was like the F1 or like Ferrari or like GQ. Someone like a proper account posted a clip of like, I think it must have been like the what's in my bag or like the essentials that the F1 drivers start like slowly doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have prescription glasses, but like I don't wear them because like I have a perfect view, but like I should wear them because like my view is just like not quite perfect. And the caption was genuinely, let's add that to the words of wisdom, Charles.
No. Oh my God. That's so funny. Yeah. They have a really good rapport because I think, I don't know, Charles is just so sassy when he's in the car. Like he's and I'll talk about it later too when there's like a quote when he's getting interviewed after the race, but he's so media trained out of the car. In the car, he kind of gets to be a little like punchy, a little spicy with it, which I adore. I think that's great. But the other, go ahead.
Brain moment. Sorry. We just spoke about the Max to Mercedes rumors, and I've just had like a light bulb moment. Everyone's saying, okay, but if Max went to Mercedes, who would go to Red Bull? Would George or Lando or Oscar? Charles Leclerc. There's been rumors that he's thinking of leaving Ferrari if they can't pick their game up. What if those haunting photos of Charles Leclerc
not in red? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm crying a little bit because that's a bit traumatizing to think about.
Yeah, I feel like I need to wash my hands. I like don't like that. But speaking of the other Ferrari radio that we had Lewis Hamilton arguing with Ricky. Ricky, when I catch the engineers for Ferrari, all I want to ask is why don't they like let the drivers make decisions? Because they're the ones in the car feeling the grip, feeling the tires. And the radio, the song goes like this. Lewis says, my tires are okay. Can I extend? How many more laps left? And Ricky just goes, add box, 20 laps. And Lewis goes, I don't want to stop. And then he's just told to box. Just box. Just told, you got to come in. And like we saw it happen in Canada. We've seen it happen in the past where Charles is like, no, we're good. And they're like, no, come in for slicks in the wet.
Yeah.
Just, like
exactly that.
What's happening?
Like, I swear at like the first, let's say I'm being generous, but let's say the first quarter of the season, Ricky and Lewis seem to like get along. Sorry, Ricardo, if you don't like being called Ricky, apologies.
Everyone
but like
calls him Ricky.
do they? I don't know. I've tried to like ignore him.
I thought Carlos called him Ricky. Well, maybe that's a special relationship.
Yeah, maybe that's like a Carlos thing. I don't know. Anyway, if you don't like being called Ricky, that's unfortunate because we're gonna.
You should let us know you should come on the podcast and let us know.
Yeah, jump on the podcast. Let us like question you. But like the first quarter of the season, I feel like they got on.
They were so polite.
It was fine, and especially once we hit Monaco, it was like he was like, "What's that? You want to speak?"
Totally.
Like literally, it's just snaps. Like, what happened at Ferrari?
Yeah, maybe it's like a time thing where like Lewis finally felt comfortable enough to be like, "Hey, mate, what's the heck is going on?" Yeah.
And the disrespect. 7-time world champion, and you're like, think he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting too because Brian telling Charles that it seems like there's some drivers that like don't like that at all. That don't like to be told what to do or want to be able. Like Carlos did a lot of like tactical driving with engineering, like plans and stuff. from the cockpit, which is, I like super respect that. And I think that is what sets some drivers ahead. But it's so interesting because I feel like Lando is the opposite. Like, Will Joseph, I think, is Lando's engineer. There's Will Joseph and Hugh Bird, and in my head, I just think Huge Bird when I see his name. But like, and then I just think of Big Bird or like an ostrich. But with Will Joseph, he's being told like watch these corners specifically. I took notes of like, oh, make sure to hit this apex in particular, and it's like almost like being coached at the same time, which seems like it's working for Lando, but is so interesting because none of the other drivers that we generally consider as like world championship drivers championship material really are like that. I think if GP or anyone tried to tell Max actively, when he's asked to do things, he's like, no, shut up. I'm not going to do that. You come drive the car then.
Literally. And like, I think for the most part, let's clear that. If I say for the most part, bar a few races, I think engineers should take a note from Fernando Alonso's engineer's book. I don't know his name. Sorry. But like, Fernando Alonso not only drives and runs his own race, but he's watching the screens to run Lance Stroll's race. You know what I mean? And he does it well, except for the no more radio for the rest of the race, which haunts me. But like, for the most part, that relationship's really good and like, it works. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and Fernando had a really, really funny radio as well, since we're still kind of on the topic of radios. His was really funny, of his hot ass in the cockpit. He was saying, and I cannot tell you the temperature of this heat. It's maybe, I don't know, 200 degrees. He was burning up in there. Get that man a bottle of water.
Oh my god, I was cackling a solid 3 minutes about that.
It was so good. It was so good and like so like very Fernando.
His sassy radio messages will never be beaten by anyone. Like, okay, like GP and Max have some pretty funny banter and like married couple banter on the radio. But Fernando is just so like sassy and just like he's like a dad.
Yeah.
Like the radio privilege is gone, taken. Like I can't there's like another radio that's like in my head.
I can't believe he put his engineer in timeout.
Literally.
You saying it was like a dad movie? He's like, go to the corner, face the wall.
No more radio for the rest of the race.
Yep.
It's just
you're grounded. You're grounded.
I think we genuinely need to do an episode where we talk about like the all-time best radio messages. Because when I
think that'd be tough. We should do a bracket.
Number 1, Lance Stroll's "Can you stay out in these conditions?" Yes! Immediately into the wall.
Yeah, you know what? We should do that. We should do a bracket of the best radios. That would be really good.
I'm so serious.
Summer break's coming up.
We'll
have time.
We're going to figure that out because that'll be gold. I guess while we're on the radios, we've got to... Oh, no, we'll touch on this later on because it's a later on in the race issue.
Okay. I know. I want to talk about Yuki for a little bit. Yuki had like a very eventful race, unfortunately, which doesn't necessarily mean he had like a positive result. He just like had a lot of contact with people. So he was trying to overtake Lance, had contact, was under investigation, deemed a racing incident. Totally get it. And then immediately, I think it was the same corner, bumps into Franco Colapinto. Franco spins. Yuki ended up needing a new wing. And then that put him in last because his pit stop was so long and he didn't necessarily qualify super well. And he got a 10-second penalty. So it was like a really rough like race for him in general. Max also DNF'd. Like, it was a bad home race for Red Bull Racing. It was not good.
I don't know if you saw what Christian Horner said. I'm not going to say this is the exact quote because I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
I think I know what you're going to say.
But he was like, the car is hard to drive, but it's not that hard to drive or something.
You get in the car, Christian.
Car, Christian.
You drive it.
Literally, let's see how you could do because I'm sorry, you never even made it to F1. You weren't good.
I don't think you should. It's tough. And like, this is where I get into a little bit of a weird place when the engineers are giving advice too of like, like, I know you're looking at the data and like, they're looking at the data. Like Christian Horner coming out and saying that maybe we just needed to not say anything at all this time. The golden rule. If you don't have anything nice to say, shut up.
Yep. I don't know who I was watching during this part of the race, but their stream was like slightly behind mine. I said, "Thank you, Yuki. That needed to be done." And they were like, "What needed to be done?" And then obviously Connor were like, "Oh, Franco. Okay, yeah, cool." And then it was like,
that's really funny, actually.
Yeah, they were like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, got it. Of course you said that."
Oh my god.
And then like seconds later, Gasly and Ocon were battling, and I was like, "Please."
Oh my god, I know. I was like,
anyway, he could not control the car, and I was like, "You're obviously gonna like be down the back or crash out. Please take Ocon out with you. Give him a shit, please." Then, I guess that's nice of you, Pierre, but like,
yeah. No, I did have that. No, I ended up taking it out, but I was like, every time they're close to each other on track, I'm like, something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's like a bad omen.
Magnet.
So, yeah. Let's see. I have a few brief notes on the pit stops. McLaren had like weirdly slow stops. It was like the front left, I think, not wanting to come off. Maybe like the wheel gun or something was like malfunctioning or something. So both Lando and Oscar have bad stops. And then when they come in for their second stop, because it was a 2-stop race, only a handful of drivers had a 1-stop successfully. But for the second stop, then Lando gets a really good stop, but then Oscar gets a better one. So it's like they like canceled out the bad stops. I think Oscar's bad stop was worse than Lando's bad stop. So it was just like really interesting to see their pit strategy against each other as well. Because I feel like McLaren hasn't been in this position to be winning in a long time. So like it's a whole batch of folks at McLaren headquarters like working on this kind of stuff, but also like now to be internally not necessarily fighting, but to be tactically thinking about the way that you're going to race someone who is under the same basically like flag as you. Like that's tricky.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And also I don't recall what Sauber's pit stops were this weekend, but Sauber has seriously picked up their game.
Jonathan Wheatley. And I 100% think it's 100% his fault.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the F1 movie, shut your ears for a second. But the way I got through the F1 movie, and I said this to Brooks, I hadn't realized you had seen it yet. And I sent her a video after the movie, and I said the way I got through that movie was shutting out like the knowledge I have of F1, pretend I don't know anything. But also that I pretended Brad Pitt, like his character, Sonny Hayes, whatever, was Nico Hulkenberg coming back to F1. And like his redemption arc.
Okay.
That like
damn.
Apex GP, whatever it's called, was Sauber. And like I was like nearly in tears because like, oh, they've got a good pit stop finally. Like Sauber's finally doing it. And I was like, this isn't Sauber. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a full debrief of the film soon, and I think I need to rewatch it. I was kind of a hater going in, so I think I need to give it a better chance.
Yeah, I think America has like D-box or like the seats that move. Like
I kind of want to do that, but also I feel like I would throw out my back. Like I can't. I'm getting to the age where like if I sleep wrong, it's a couple days.
Old lady Sof over here. Jesus.
I know, twice in one episode. Usually it's only once where I'm like, what is that slang word? We're like, I'll Google that one later.
This is because I didn't have an episode for you to question last week.
Oh my god, no, I know. So, okay, so that kind of takes us toward the like ending series of events of the race. So, we get into some of the Yuki and Franco battling, but they are also battling in front of Oscar during blue flags. This is, I think, also, I didn't mention it, but this was a radio that we got.
Yeah, this is what I was.
Oscar.
Wait, I was like, we'll wait for this because it's more fitting to bring it here.
Yeah. I think I can play it from my Instagram on my computer. Let me see. Yeah.
Even as an Alpine fan, that was fantastic. Let's add that to the words of wisdom.
Yeah. We should make like a whole F1. When we do our bracket, that'll determine what's in there.
That was poetic. That sounded pre-planned, but like obviously it wasn't. I mean, unless it was. Maybe he's been planning that since back in 2022 when Alpine first fucked him over, and maybe he's been thinking one day an Alpine is going to fuck me over again, and I'm pulling this one out.
Yeah.
So. Because that was really like that was my favorite radio message of the weekend. I fear.
No, 100%. It was the best. It was 100% the best. So while Yuki and Franco are battling during blue flags, Oscar's trying to just get by, as is his right, as someone who is lapping you. And again, we get back into the fact that Austria is such a short track that we're like drivers who were getting lapped twice. And I was like, take me out of the game at that point. Let me sit on the bench for this one. I don't want to get lapped twice. Yeah, Franco winds up essentially pushing Oscar into the grass. He dips the wheel into the grass, which is just crazy because Oscar's coming off of just a fresh pit stop. So his tires are fresh. Now they're like all slippy and slidey because they've got grass and dirt all over them. Yeah. Franco did get a 5-second penalty for this, which I think is fair. That's like not okay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy.
Like 10 seconds. 10 seconds would have been nice. Because it's like, it comes back to like Max and Oscar off the like in general, whatever, off the like start. Obviously, into turn one, it was only 5 seconds because it was the start of the race, and like,
right,
you know,
it's a bit of a lighter.
But then Liam got a 10-second later on for doing the same sort of thing.
Right,
this would have been a 10-second because it's like the end of the race, and like also blue flags.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Is it feels like this season there's been a lot of like the back markers are just like kind of like sticking a middle finger up to the blue flag. Maybe it's just like Liam Lawson does this a lot, but like I feel like he's becoming notorious for like continuing his battle under blue flags instead of just like letting the driver pass and then resuming. Like you'll lose less time. I don't know. Maybe you won't. I don't know. I'm not in the cockpit, but like as a viewer, I don't know.
I fear some of these fools saw the F1 movie way too early and they're trying to be Sunny Hayes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a lot to unpack actually about what I think about the movie. But yeah, so I have literally a bullet point in here that says that the lapped cars are making it so tricky. But yeah, the race ended, you know, with like Oscar having just like a little bit of like extra fire and just like the inability to act upon it. And our podium was Lando, Oscar, and Charles Leclerc, coming in a solid 17 seconds after Oscar passed the finish line. It was a long time.
Yeah.
Because, like, these folks are, like, out of the car, bumping into each other and, like, getting the one collision that they're going to have all weekend when they're getting weighed. And then, like, oh, like, there's also Charles Leclerc, like, finally showing up. So, yeah, but, like, Lando's just kind of, like...
I thought we were off these days of, like, ridiculous gaps.
Yeah. I'll allow it because it's, like, good fighting, though.
Yeah.
Like, they're both ahead fighting each other, which is better than someone just out ahead and we're, like, looking at who's battling for, like, P8. As much as that is important for, like, the midfield teams. Yeah. But, yeah. So when Lando crosses the finish line, gets to Parc Fermé, like, gets out of his car, he just, like, kind of got out of his car. He, like, didn't celebrate. He didn't do anything, which, like, sure, do your thing, but, like, you just want to race.
Yeah. I don't know. Kind of needed that win, buddy.
It felt a little anticlimactic. To be fair, though, Oscar is still in the lead of the championship. The difference is just smaller now. But, yeah, I don't know. I felt like he, like, wasn't excited. He still did his bottle slam during the podium celebrations. So we're back to that. I have, like, a hawk's eye on Lando. I'm like, how's this man behaving? I'm psychoanalyzing him constantly. Yes. Poor guy. I feel bad, actually.
Right. He's got
no clue. My god. But this is where so Davide does the post-race interviews. And so he's interviewing everybody while they're getting the cool down room set up, which we'll get to, which I also thought was very funny. But he's interviewing Charles Leclerc, and his question is, how do you rate your weekend? And a beautiful angel cherub, media trained Charles Leclerc goes, I would rate our weekend as a team, and like continues speaking. And I was like, Dad is one media trained young man. He knows exactly what they want him to say.
Sylvia has done well.
Yeah, you know, it's just funny. Because then, same thing we were talking about earlier, like he's out of the car. Oh, Ferrari hat's on. I know exactly what I need to say, exactly how I need to say it. And like, I do think it's a very noble thing. Yeah. It's a very noble thing to be like, oh, well, our team, because it is a team sport. It is about the pit crew. It is about the engineers. It is about the upgrades. It is about everybody on the pit wall, in the garage. But also, like, in that moment, it is kind of about you because you just brought it over the finish line, literally.
You ran the race.
So, like, yeah. I just thought it was very funny of, like, he did it so nicely, too. Yeah. Of like, oh, well, our weekend as a team was great. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Well, he didn't say that. He was like, we could have done more. You know, we want to be higher on them. You said all the perfect media trained things. Yeah, as a Ferrari driver.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to believe because of how much he's like a team. We're a team. The team. It's never me, 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 unless it's bad, and then it's me, 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 me. But when it's like good, it's the team, the team, the team, and that's why it's hard for me to believe he'll ever leave Ferrari because like one team, one dream. But like also, it has to get to a point where you're like, this is ridiculous. If I actually
it has to
want
be about you sometimes.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
As dark and as sad as it is, sorry, Ferrari fans, cover your ears. Ferrari aren't winning a championship anytime soon.
Especially if they keep switching up the team principals like this, because that's also part of the gossip that was going around was like, oh, Charles might leave, and like, oh, are they going to fire Fred? First of all, if you fire Fred, I'll cry. I love Fred.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get a Fred Vasseur t-shirt that has like
the like patchy like photo ones.
Yeah, I like try to not plug other podcasts, but I always end up plugging Red Flags Pod because they have these amazing. They have the shirt that I have that's like all of the sad Charles Leclerc. I have that one's from them, but they have a Fred one, and it's just Fred being Fred. So like, just like the coolest guy. Are you receiving a call? What do you have better things to do?
Yeah, sorry guys, I hate Gears and Glory.
Yeah.
Just realized you're in the podcast. Sorry.
Oh my god. Well, at least they know. But yeah, I think it needs to commit to letting Fred, like Ferrari as an entity needs to commit to letting Fred figure it out, even if it means having a couple of years where you are second or third.
Yeah.
Because then you get to bide your time and plan and be better, especially with new regulations and whatever mom is. I need to figure out what it stands for.
Yeah, it's like manual override mode. I may have made that up. Let me Google it.
Yeah, F1 mom. I don't think that's gonna come up with what I need it to say. No.
F1 mom system. Manual override
mode. Yeah, manual override mode.
That was a guess. Go me.
Yeah.
Also, dumbest name. What about DRS?
Yeah.
DRS, that was like that 8. Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh man, we're gonna have another good joke though, because like Jensen was the first driver to press the DRS button. Is like perfect, but like now it's gonna be like who was the first to use their mom? Like who was the first to like engage their mom? Like it's like weird because what else are you going to? Yeah, how else would you abbreviate that though? Like MOM takes way too much time compared to mom.
Somebody, I swear to God, if a commentator doesn't say Max Verstappen was the first driver to ever hit their mum, because like honestly, that would be way funnier. Because like,
oh man,
why can't he hit his mum? I'm kidding, but like, would that not be like? It would just they've got to word it funny, otherwise they literally are like ruining the legacy of everything.
It's just gonna be the radios are gonna be meme city next season. Yeah. So there's just a couple more things I want to chat about with the end of the race. So I want to talk about driver of the day. So I think two drivers were really deserving of driver of the day. I think obviously, well, I voted for Gabby Bortoleto because he had a stellar qualifying and then he maintained his position. And this comes into a question that I want to ask you because I think Nico Hülkenberg obviously did an incredible job as well because he went P20 to P9. Yeah. So my question to you, to the viewers and listeners in the audience is which one of them feels more impressive? Like, I don't think we should take driver of the day away from Gabby because he had the added layer of those are his first points.
Yeah.
But is it harder to qualify P8 in a Sauber and maintain P8 in a Sauber or go from P20 to P9 in the Sauber?
Yeah. You see, I'm going to be like biased here. I love Gabby Bortoleto and like part of me is like, you're a rookie, so like that is way more impressive. But also at the same time, I know he can do better. Like last season in F2.
Well, he was the champion, wasn't he?
Yeah. In Monza, he started P22 and won the race. Like, the kid has talent, but then again, he's in a Sauber.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so stuck. But also, like, 11 places in a Sauber for Nico when you've qualified terrible. You've got to come through all the crappy cars in the field to get up into the... That's also insane. So I'm so in two minds on who actually deserves it more.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because we say like, oh, they're in a Sauber, but that means something else these last couple of races. Like it means a true midfield car. It's kind of like Alpine and Williams who are at the back now,
Yeah.
where like Sauber is replacing what Williams was having at the beginning of the season, where we were like, oh, is this like a Williams comeback era? Like, oh,
Yeah.
did Jimmy V really figure it out?
Yeah.
So I think it just means something else. So maybe we like that's like a grain of salt to like, oh, but they're in a Sauber, but like, yeah, but like a Sauber's kind of good right now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's just an interesting development in the season. I'm enjoying watching that success right now.
I mean, regardless, Gabby Bordello is my driver of the day every time because I love that kid. Oh.
Yeah, love. I do love Gabby Bortoleto. For those that might not know, I don't know if I've talked about it on the pod, I'm learning Portuguese on Duolingo. And so part of it is so that I can understand all of the Portuguese memes and like news outlets, and just like I speak Spanish, so it's like easy to learn and fun. I have a 440 something day streak. I'm like committed.
You're insane.
Yeah, we have a friend streak.
I've not been on Duolingo. I probably have a like Duolingo like abandonment streak or something because
oh my god,
me daily. I've not opened it in months.
And that's okay. Well, you use yours to brush up a little more, but like I keep seeing these memes, and then part of me is like, oh, like I can understand Gabriel Bortoleto in his native language as much as I can understand like Carlos Sainz and Franco Colapinto and Fernando Alonso when they speak in Spanish. I could arguably understand bits and pieces of his interviews now, but I'm sure they have a million different complicated words for all of the terminology for the racetrack and the cars and stuff. So I don't think I would understand that. I think I can say so. I can say really simple phrases like there are horses on the farm, or like things like that. Really relevant to Formula One type language is what I'm learning.
Yeah, Ferrari are the horses.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, except for now I can only think of how to say horse in French. Anyways, that's beside the point. Let me talk about the cool down room. The beginning of the cool down room was hilarious because cinematic. We open on the cool down room. Oscar Piastri sitting in a chair alone. Like, you know how they write scripts, but like that's actually what it was, and he's sitting there like the old grandpa that he is at heart, just kind of watching, and it's like thank you, congratulations, like the thing that Pirelli or whatever Formula One has on the screen, and like the old photos of the old champions. And then they start showing all the and he's just there alone. Yeah. And like then fashionably late, Lando and Charles show up. But one thing that was really, really funny is that they did show the clip from the broadcast when Franco ran Oscar off the road. They cut to it and Oscar just goes, oh, watch this. Like, look at this. Look at what happened to me. Look at the crimes that have been committed upon me today.
And he's like, yeah, no, that cool down room was one of the funnier ones.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about the audio quality, because how are they not getting like a baby mic when they're going in there? I cannot hear them for the life of me.
Yeah. Either mute it completely or give us good quality audio. I either want to hear it or not. I don't want to be guessing.
Yeah.
That really annoys me.
No. So put a mic on those bad boys, please. I want to understand what they're saying. I don't care if they curse. Let them.
Literally, let them. Boys will be boys. That's the definition. But like that literally was like the same like post-race cooldown as the F3 sprint race, which I don't even know if I just spoke about this on the actual podcast or whether I spoke to Sophia about it just before we started filming. It's been an hour, I don't know. But Ugo Chuko just disappeared. Like the first two, like it was James Wharton, Aussie, and I interviewed these blokes. I should know who was in the podium. Oh my god. Oh, Alessandro Giusti. They're both pulled up to the P1, P2 bollards, and there's just no one in P3, and literally everyone's like, where is Ugo Ugochukwu? Where has the kid gone?
Oh no.
He's like, he is the tallest, lankiest, like, American you'll ever see. He's so, like, un-Americanly American. I cannot explain it. And he's disappeared. And in my head, I'm like, how do you not only lose a driver, but their car? And then I'm actually in the conference before I messaged, somebody tells me, oh, they didn't lose him. He drove to the wrong pit lane.
Oh my gosh, this was, what you were mentioning.
So and there was literally just the two of them in the cool down room. Everyone's like, "Where's Ugo?" And
That's crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right.
That was fun.
Yeah, well, that takes us to the end of Austria. To come absolutely full circle, I was just taking a little scroll because I was closing out of my saved, where I saved all of the radio messages. A post from motorsport.com 6 hours ago, which is kind of a long time for me to not have seen it. George saying the likelihood I'm not at Mercedes is exceptionally low. So I think he thinks he's still going to stay there.
I don't know, guys. Place your bets with us. Let us know whether you message us. Maybe I'll put like a poll on our story as well. Let us know if you think that. I'll put two. First of all, do you think Max will leave Red Bull at all, let alone go to Mercedes? And if he does go to Mercedes, do you think George or Kimi will be his teammate? Because I'm personally sticking to my guns and saying George. Maybe that's just because I want to see a Mercedes 2.0, and if Toto's all for it, I'm all for it.
McLaren isn't enough for you? Papaya Rules isn't enough for you?
No, I love George Russell. I love Max Verstappen. And the drama they have with each other so randomly and suddenly, I am absolutely loving it. Like, it is so entertaining for me. Maybe that's not a good thing, but it is. I think it's so funny because George is so dramatic. Anytime something doesn't go his way, he lashes out with unnecessary anger and borderline violence. Like, what? You're so dramatic.
I love it. No, I love it. He's the most British man. The pictures of him in that silver old school car with the little Tommy Shelby from what is the show? What is it called? It's like Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders hat.
Yeah, I've never seen that, but yeah. No.
Yeah, I've seen like 2 episodes.
I'll have to
Cillian Murphy's in it. His beautiful blue eyes. But
yeah, he's like kind of like creepishly beautiful. Anyway.
Yeah, he's short though. God evened it out that way. Yeah.
Okay, well that's why I like George Russell better because he kind of looks the same, but he's tall.
He looks like handsome Squidward.
Oh my God, yes. Actually, I need to
say you've ever seen that.
It was literally my wallpaper like all of last year. It's a photo of George Russell like in a car looking out the side. It's just like a photo. It's a nice photo. It's great. He looks really fancy and posh, but someone's just captioned it, "Hello, peasants."
No, I have that. My Apple Watch has just like a bunch of silly pictures of the drivers, and it's one of those.
Are we literally twins? Because that has been my phone wallpaper all last year.
No, I think so. Yeah, farewell, peasants.
That's it. Yes, and it literally reminds me of the George Russell like Valtteri Bottas meme from like literally years ago now. But it's like the Valtteri, Mummy says it's my turn in the Mercedes from when like 20 or whatever when he took the seat.
Yeah.
Iconic. I love George Russell memes. Like literally nothing will beat that.
So funny. And he leans into it as the issue, which makes it so much more enjoyable.
But I don't even think he necessarily I don't think the memes and the jokes he creates, I don't think they're conscious. I think they're so subconscious. But then once he's like done it, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna run with this."
That is funny.
So I don't. He's so. You know what? I don't understand why we have George Russell haters in 2025.
Yeah. Any of his negative qualities are just endearing to me at this point.
Yeah, literally.
And like, oh, but it's George. Who cares? Yeah.
I think I've just got like rose-colored glasses on because of what he did for Miles at the Grand Prix. But like, I say what he did for Miles as if it was like exceptional, but like, still, it made my son's like year. And anything that like helps the Tismo boy, I love. So like, maybe I've just got like rose-colored glasses on, and that's why I love George Russell so much. Because like last year, I hated George Russell. I've never liked George Russell, but Miles loves George Russell, so now I love George Russell. And now I'm making all of you love George Russell.
Yeah, well, I mean, I came around on Max Verstappen. I used to really not like him. And obviously I got into it in part through like all of the memes and posts going around and then like watching Drive to Survive, and they show like him getting like really aggressive and like fighting Esteban Ocon and like shoving him. And I was like, that guy, I hate him. And then he was winning and I'm like, oh, and he's good at the sport too. Yeah, and then I'm like, oh my God, he's crazy, but it's just Max.
Yeah, it's just him.
Yeah,
I've never been like a Max Verstappen fan. I've never been like a Red Bull or like a Verstappen like supporter. Like I like him, don't get me wrong. I'm like, oh yeah, I love Max. But the only year I have supported Max is like the pointy end of 2021, because in every other category of motorsport, I support Red Bull. And obviously Ferrari was never going to win that season. So I was like, I should probably back the Red Bull boy here. So I did, and like thankfully he won. But once 2021 was over, I was back to like Ferrari Alpine, or Ferrari, I guess, because he was an Alpine then. So, yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
that was
Yeah, we'll have to keep. It was a little bit of like 1.5 episodes with the gossip outlet
yeah.
conversation, but we'll have to keep an eye on the news and see what's up. It's the British Grand Prix this weekend, so maybe there will be an announcement. Maybe George will sign something because it's his home race. We'll see.
We also need to keep an eye on Lewis and Ferrari because since
And whether or
2014,
not he podiums.
yeah, he's not finished off of the podium since 2013 or whatever. So let's see if Ferrari can actually get Homeboy on the podium.
Yeah,
I'm a bit concerned,
yeah.
but
I'm scared. That one's a tricky. There's lots of chicanes, lots of weird turns. I've been playing it on the video game, and I don't like it very much.
I hate Silverstone. I
It's
hate it.
tricky. It's
Gives me
yeah, I don't like it when I'm not immediately good at something.
me. I'm not good at it. This one sucks.
Yeah, no, there's something wrong with that one. We should probably take it off the calendar. No, yeah. So we'll see you all for our Silverstone recap.
Yes, we will. All
And
right.
with that,
Well, bye.
bye.